We thank Apt Electronics and Appliances, our title sponsor here on Live from My Office. The month is May, and Apt, of course, is your number one destination for the home and your number one destination for everything furniture. I sleep on an Apt mattress. I sit in an Apt recliner. I may have Apt furniture I've forgotten about. But with an upcoming expansion of the furniture showroom, which is going to provide an additional 30,000 square feet, I don't even know where they're going to put that. Apt is the perfect place to get inspired for a living room makeover and more. Maybe a complete home update if you like. Maybe a chair and a half, or maybe a recliner. Maybe a new mattress. All right, now I'm just channeling me. Explore rugs and sofas and dining tables and mattresses and more with trend-setting brands like Palliser and FlexSteel, Hooker Furniture, and, of course, Our House as well. Visit the store in Glenview to shop stylish furniture in person or explore the collection at apt.com. For free and home delivery, professional installation, and complete satisfaction, shop Apt, pleasing people since 1936. And don't forget, if you use the promo code Cochran25, spend $150 or more, and they'll give you $25 back. Save $25 with the promo code Cochran25 in store and at apt.com. Well, we were just about to start the show, and obviously we have started the show, but we need a new name. Turns out the name that I called this Mike Toomey, my guest, Anything But Politics, has already been taken by a group of rebels in New Hampshire. And they're actually talking to politicians. So I don't know how they got the title. But that's what happens in podcasts. There's no barrier to entry. Everybody can get in. And I'm not about stealing other people's names. So we need to come up with a new name. Anything But Politics is not going to work. Anything jump to mind for you?
No, but I like the idea that they call themselves Anything But Politics and they talk to political people.
Yeah, what is that?
We're going to be speaking to the governor today and finding out what his favorite type of cake is.
Right. It doesn't add up.
That's a good idea. I love it.
It doesn't add up, but they were first in. So, you know. Yeah. So, remember Bill O'Reilly had the no spin zone? So maybe the no politics zone?
Hey, that's pretty good.
It's not terrible.
Or how about politics with a line through it?
I thought about that. It works visually.
Those words, exactly. No, the show is called Politics with a Line Through It.
Apparently your dog doesn't like that idea at all. What's your dog's name?
Yeah, Gracie. Gracie, come here.
Gracie.
Come here.
For those of you watching on the YouTube channel, you're going to get a look at Gracie if she comes over.
She's here. Come here.
Jump up, Gracie.
Come on.
Come on, Gracie. For those of you listening, the cutest, furriest breed?
She's a terrier mix.
Terrier mix is now sitting in Mike's lap, licking him, which I've not seen since that intern meeting you had to have with HR. Gracie.
So there she is. Now she'll be quiet. She got some camera time.
She got some loving. So I like that. What about you? Got anything jump to mind for Anything But Politics? I like your idea of politics with a slash through it. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's the name of it. Like you write out the words, politics with a line through it.
Oh, you call it actually politics with a line through it for those that can't see.
Yes. You write out every word.
I like that. I also like the one you told me off the air when you said it's anything but politics, pause.
Illinois
or Chicago style.
Yeah, Chicago style, not politics.
All right, well, we got some stuff to work with, but I'll make it a contest. If you want to drop me an email at thecochranshow@gmail.com, if you come up with a name we end up using, I'll send you an app gift card. You'll get credit on every show, which means nothing, but bragging rights. So that's not all. That's not terrible. That's okay.
I think it's fantastic. All
right, let's talk about you for a second. We have some live shows we'll announce this summer that you and I will be doing with Tim Benker and some other folks.
Okay.
So we're excited. I like how you pretend you didn't.
This is news to me. Maybe if I could get a little notice.
Sorry, I should have let you know. But those will be fun. But in the meantime, you're doing a brand new show aside from your duties on the WGN Morning News. Let's start with the morning news. What time are you on, and what are you wearing?
Well, right now I'm wearing a blue ensemble. It's a Western shirt that I've had probably since the early 90s, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't throw things away.
Fits you like a glove.
Aside all that, the show obviously 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. and I am on every day during the 9 o'clock hour. And depending on who's there and who's not, I may show up a little bit earlier some days.
And sometimes characters that may or may not be you will pop in.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And I'm very candid about just admitting that those are me.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, you're doing the best job there, and all the others are holding you down and holding you back.
Yeah, you and me, right?
Yeah,
That's all right.
But brand new development, and maybe some of you have already seen it. If you got that Samsung Smart TV, I know you can download WGN Plus. Is that what it's called?
WGN Plus. Well, the WGN Plus TV app, yes, WGN Plus. Yeah. Or if you're like me and you just go to WGNTV.com/live, you can see this show. It's my show. It's called Laugh Tracks. It premieres, or it comes on every week at 10, Saturday mornings.
So at 10 o'clock in the morning, recorded live within the previous few days.
We recorded earlier in the week, yep. And then after we spiff it up a little bit, it runs 10 a.m. on Saturday and then repeats at 4 p.m. on Saturday and 4:30 on Sunday.
Well, that's great. And hopefully they're gonna start archiving those so we can go get them on demand.
I know that that's being worked on.
Yeah, because it's an on-demand world. Your sidekick seems like a good guy. Is he one of the Kardashians?
He has been trying to marry into that family for a while.
Good for him.
His name is Brian Say, and he is a producer and does a lot of the comedy bits on the show as well, on the morning show. And he's also a very good editor, so he wears a lot of hats on this show.
Well, good. So it's a small, devoted company that's putting this bad boy out.
Yes, basically three of us. Terry Bates, Brian Say, and myself.
And by comparison, do you even have an estimate of how many people work on the WGN Morning News every day?
I couldn't even begin to know.
I bet it's 100 people.
You know what I'll do? I'll count cars tomorrow when I get there. Although that's a little bit on the early side, so I'll count cars and multiply by 3. I
bet it's 100 people. I bet between for those 6 hours, I bet it's 100 people.
Yep. I mean, if you're counting news writers, producers, control room, everything, engineers, it's got to be.
And in all those years on the radio, the biggest staff I ever had was probably 8. I never got to double digits, partly because of my gigantic ego. I was at WGN, and the great Anna Devlantis was on. Andrea Darlis was on. We had 5 or 6 people on the air in various times regularly with me. 4 or 5 probably, and then a bunch of staff support. Anyway, it totaled up to 8, and I thought, man, that's like running Microsoft. It's unbelievable.
Right.
So, all right, so the premise here on this brand new show, yet to be named, though today we're going with a line through the word politics, the show.
Politics with a line through it.
Politics with a line through it, that's it.
Yeah.
Politics with a line through it. I love the logo.
And I tell you what, let's start by throwing them a curveball and make this a political topic.
That would be great. And it would
to make it different.
It'd be an homage to our friends in New Hampshire.
Right.
Who we have not yet met.
Which would make no sense.
I'm going to give you 5 different headlines.
Okay.
And you just pick one of the headlines, and then we'll talk about that story. And we'll get through as many of these as we can before either one of us dozes off, since we're both grandfathers. Okay. Rescuing a douchebag. That's topic number 1.
Okay.
Why aren't you playing my kid? That's topic number 2. Topic number 3, baseball's all-time name team. That's topic number 3. Topic number 4, really bad tourist attractions. And topic number 5, 6 secrets of 60s and 70s TV hits.
Oh, wow. These are all fun.
Yeah, they're all good.
Let's start with why aren't you playing my kid for 300?
This won't surprise you. The topic is Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
Shedeur Sanders is Deion Sanders' son, played at the University of Colorado, came out for the draft. Everybody thought, and certainly Deion and Shedeur did, that he would not only go first round, he could possibly be top 3.
Mm-hmm.
And no worse than the second quarterback selected. He slipped all the way to the 5th round, and at insult to injury, he ended up in Cleveland. Now, nothing against Cleveland. I like Cleveland. Cleveland's a good town. But the Browns are a cursed team they haven't had a quarterback since Bernie Kosar that they could count on. So it's going to be an uphill battle. But straight up sports, because you're a big sports guy. You always have been. What did you make of the Shedeur Sanders thing?
I'm wondering, first off, not only did he, as you say, end up in Cleveland, Cleveland decided not to draft him 4 times.
Right.
For the one that they did. I don't know. Obviously, there's some baggage there. I mean, I don't think they're afraid of Deion in any way, shape, or form. I just, I guess we have to look a little deeper to find out what's in those bags.
The thing that kept getting repeated was he did terrible interviews. Like his ball skills were great. Ball skills, that's what they say on the sports talk shows.
Wasn't that your nickname in high school?
Ball skills was my nickname, yeah. And I was in a band called Ball Skills.
Yes, I remember.
But that he did terrible interviews, and he sort of dictated in a couple of the interviews to teams that their culture would have to fit him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can see where teams would go, hey, kid, blow it out your ass. But did you hear any of that?
No, I did not. It's a head scratcher to think that this guy has Deion DNA and is not pulling it off through his skills or through his personality. I mean,
because
he takes after his mother.
Somehow he must have really pissed off the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Because the Steelers traded everybody that could play quarterback, and they're counting on that dope Aaron Rodgers. What is he, 65 years old now?
64.
Yeah, and coming back to Gracie doesn't like Aaron Rodgers either.
She hates him.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers possibly deciding
but
he'll
she
come into play.
dislikes him for a different reason. We dislike him because of the Bears-Packers thing. She dislikes him because she's a Jets fan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's why she doesn't like him. Yeah.
He failed her completely. So the Steelers were thought, this is an easy one. This is a home run.
Mm-hmm.
But the Steelers obviously didn't like him either. So we don't know why he won't play my kid, but we do know he ends up in Cleveland.
Yes.
All right. Topic number 2, secrets of TV hits from the 60s and 70s, bad tourist attractions, baseball's all-time name team, or rescuing a douchebag.
Let's do that first one you mentioned about the TV stars of the 60s. 60s,
Secrets. Okay. We'll do 2 shows. And we'll begin with a show you know well, The Brady Bunch.
Yes.
Now, this is, you and I share a lot of things in common outside of the fact that you have hair and I don't. And one of those is we were both raised on TV.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And you actually toured a show for years and years and years called
TV and Me, which was
brilliant, by the way. Me
growing up in front of the TV and watching everything and absorbing every bit of information and every character on all the shows. Yep.
And that show's brilliant, and you toured it for years and years. Maybe it'll come back at some point, but it's currently on hiatus.
Currently dead, you mean?
Or that. Yeah. But one of the guys who you did very, very well, and you and Gary Cole are the only guys I've ever heard do the voice of Robert Reed as well as you do. This is not a secret to you and me, but I think there are people that still don't know that Robert Reed was a closeted gay man.
Yes.
And a huge pain in the ass to work with.
Yes. There was talk that had that show continued for another season, he wouldn't have been in it.
Right.
He found that final episode of that final season to be so ridiculous that he said, if we don't change this script, I'm not going to perform. I'm not going to act in this. And the producers went, okay, we'll write you out. And that was it. He was expecting more of a fight. But Sherwood Schwartz said that as they were filming it, and Barry Williams in his book said they were doing the final scene, and Florence Henderson goes, Greg, I'm so sorry your dad couldn't be here. And he said he moved his eyes up, and Robert Reed was on the other side of the camera with his arms crossed, just like you could see the smoke coming out of his ears.
Yeah, because I had heard that. I didn't know if it was true that he showed up on set after he refused to perform.
Correct.
Like his mere presence would cause him to rewrite.
Right, because he was trained as a, serious actor. And like so many actors of that time, they get a chance to do a pilot. They'll do the pilot almost hoping that it doesn't succeed so that they can at least have the money from the pilot to float them for a little while until they find what they want, And that was him. And
now, do we know the residual story? Because, for instance, like shows like Beverly Hillbillies, Buddy Ebsen got residuals, nobody else did.
Right.
And I'm not sure about the other shows, pardon me, but do we know if the Brady Bunch got residuals?
I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say no. I don't think that it made any of them rich,
including Robert Reed.
Including Robert Reed. Yeah, I don't think anybody had any kind of a deal worked out. Plus, the other thing too, like I said, you look at the show and say, what am I leveraging here? Am I going to take more now and less on the residual end, or vice versa? And they're like, this show's terrible. I'm taking as much as I can get now.
Sure.
And that happened in two occasions. Gilligan's Island, everybody knew it was a horrible show.
Right.
So nobody went for any long-term pay. It turned out to be the most rerun show of all time. And the other one was The Odd Couple. And Tony Randall said Jack Klugman advised him to take less now and more on the back end.
Is that right?
So to speak. And he said that was the best advice he had ever been given because that show runs today.
So I'm sure all the money he made, as in the most money he made, were for those reruns.
Yes.
How about that? I did not know that. Did you know that Cindy, the youngest member of the Brady clan, and Mike Lookinland, the youngest boy in the family, are said to have spent time when they weren't working making out in Tiger's doghouse?
In the doghouse, yeah.
You knew about this?
Yes. And Susan Olsen said that Mike Lookinland tired of her because Eve Plum, the next girl up, began to develop, and he was more interested in what he was seeing there. So he kind of lost interest in Susan.
You know, when I was a kid, everybody liked Marsha. I had a thing for Jan. So fast forward to probably 1990, maybe, and I was in Hollywood for some sort of TV junket. So all these radio stations from big cities around the country were set up with tables. And I'm not particularly why, maybe it was the movie, but Jan, what is her name again, the actress?
Eve Plum.
Eve Plum came through to do interviews. Could not have been a bigger bitch.
Really?
Could not have been, and smoking as she walked up, which was nice.
What a letdown.
Yeah, really disappointing. Disappointing.
Everything I've heard about Maureen McCormick, who played Marsha,
delightful.
Is just the opposite. Yep.
And really messed up. I mean, she got in drugs and booze afterwards, and she was a hot mess for a lot of years.
Yeah. The personal meeting that I had was with Christopher Knight, who played Peter, and he came on our morning show, and we thought it would be funny if I dropped in on him as Mike.
Sure.
Carrying the briefcase with the perm wig and the jacket. But again, and this has happened to me more than once with celebrities, it sounds like a good idea, and now that I'm about to do it, I'm wondering, is it a good idea?
I can't imagine.
So, and he's there, and I come with the briefcase, and I said, well, Peter, you're wondering why I called this meeting. Your mother broke her ankle, and we're all going to have to pitch in around here. So I kept throwing, Bradyisms at him, and he's like, what? Like, he's like, who is this guy?
Right.
And I said, I know, Peter, you're upset because you broke your mother's vase.
Did he eventually play?
No, he laughed through the whole thing.
Oh, good.
So when he said, who is this guy, he wasn't saying it indignantly. He was laughing and smiling.
The one I think about with you all the time is, and especially because of how much the show meant to you, is when you did Batman to Adam West.
Same thing. Got a Batman suit on, and I'm seconds away from walking. I'm like, what if he's not a good guy?
Stupid business.
What if he's not a good guy?
Right.
So I went up there and I had this certificate. It looked like a diploma or whatever. I said, this is a certificate for portraying me all of those years on television. You're a master thespian. And, he took it. I hope I got it right. And he was, he played along with it.
So he rolled with it.
Excuse me?
He rolled with it.
Yes, he did. And then when we went to commercial break, I very unprofessionally handed him an 8x10 glossy, and he signed it for me. And he said, you've really got that bat speak down, don't you? So always remember that.
All right. Is there anybody you did to them in person that hated it or didn't play or was a jerk about it?
The closest that I could come to that was doing Adam West for Burt Ward on a radio show.
Oh.
My friend who was producing this radio show said, hey, call in. We're talking to Burt Ward. He always has these other business interests. He sells dog food and all these things. Yeah. So they had him on for something, and they had me call in, is that you, Boy Wonder? Doing it. And he just could not be more bothered by it, more peeved. You know, he wanted to get through his stuff, and he's like, what is this? What are you doing?
Well, I share your experience with it because he was on with me once to plug, I don't know if it was his memoir.
Yeah, which
or
I
his
read.
pamphlet.
Which I read.
Yeah, or the dog food thing. But I said, I brought up, a Batman question several times. And probably about the third time he goes, is this all we're going to talk about? I'm going to go. And I said, well, Bert, I got to be honest with you. It's what you're known for most. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to go down Batman Road here for a little bit. So I agree with you. And
what else would we talk about?
Yeah, and I did meet Adam West at one point or another, and I found him delightful. I thought he had a great sense of humor.
He was great fun. And the other guy was Frank Gorshin, the Riddler.
Never met him.
Okay. This is a bit of a long story. Is it okay if I tell it?
Yeah.
Okay. The last year or two of his life, she loves Gorshin. She's doing an impression of Gorshin's dog right now.
When Gracie throws the riddles out.
Yes. So the last 2 years of his life, he was doing a one-man show as George Burns. And he imitated Burns, and because when you think about it, he's the same size and build. So they, pardon me, they would dress him up as George Burns, and he would just hold the cigar and tell George Burns stories. It was a cool show. And he was coming to Chicago with it, and he was staying at the Hilton, and they gave Dean Richards permission to come interview him in his suite.
Okay.
And Dean says to me, dress up like Batman, come with me. And toward the end of the interview, you can bust in. I'm like, okay. I had met Gorshin once before that. We worked in Cedar Rapids, Iowa together at a comedy club, and he did his nightclub act. And when I was working with him there, I did my Adam West for him. He loved it because he's an impressionist, so he loves impressions. Sure. And the fact that I was able to.
But I got to know before you go any further, you went to a hotel, you had the suit on. Did you put the suit on there?
No. Suit's in a gym bag. And I come in with Dean and the crew, and they think I'm, a cameraman or a crewman or audio guy or something. So I'm there, and the PR person meets us in the lobby and says to Dean, yeah, everything's good. He's just got a little bit of laryngitis, but he's up for the interview. Just don't ask him any Batman questions. And I'm standing there with the gym bag and my secret bat suit on. So I'm just like, all right, I did this for nothing. And the PR person peels off, and Dean goes, all right, let's go. I'm like, didn't she just say, we're not doing this? He goes, come on, let's go. So he's saying we're still doing it. So they go in their little suite and sit across from the table, or before they get the interview started, I introduced myself to him. I said, believe it or not, Frank, we actually worked together once. And he goes, are you the guy that does Adam West?
Wow.
You remember? And I said, yeah. And then he said, oh, that was a fun gig with us and all that. And then they do their interview. It's getting to the end. I put the thing on reluctantly. I'm wearing this. I bust in, and Gorshin doesn't even look at me. I'm over here, and he goes, well, it's about time. So in other words, the whole time he knew I was going to do this.
Right.
And didn't care. And then I did my spiel, pretended like I was promoting his show as Batman. And he said, this guy and I worked together, and he talked about that. So it was so cool.
Sounds like he couldn't have been cooler.
Yeah, he was great.
Well, that's great.
Sometimes
much rather hear that than the
people.
bad ones.
It's those people you meet first that just shut down all the they put up all the walls.
Always true. There's very few people I haven't met that I wanted to meet, and invariably they were great, and the people around them were a pain in the ass.
Right.
So, all right, a couple more Brady secrets. Barry Williams. By the way, he's now 70 years old.
Jeez, are you kidding
me? How about that? Barry Williams admitted to filming an episode High. In the 70s, he said he was experimenting with drugs, and he smoked some weed before a show. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I think that was the one where Marcia and Greg were fighting over who was going to get the attic. And he said, Barry Williams said, if you look, you can see it in his eyes when you watch that episode.
And Florence Henderson loved dirty jokes. I didn't know that.
That I did not know, but it also doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So, she was married to a guy who was secretly gay. She probably had to have some sort of release.
Right.
So,
right. But you know what's funny about that? She said after they got done casting the show and they shot the pilot, that Florence Henderson knew instantly about, Robert Reed.
Oh, on that, when they met?
Yes. Because she said she went to Sherwood Schwartz and said, I don't know how well you know him, but he's not straight.
Wow.
She said to him, yeah.
That's pretty good gaydar for that era.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know, the perennial question, or the ultimate question with that show, was what was Alice's reason for being? Because Carol didn't really have a job.
Right.
And Alice took care of the kids quite often. What was Carol fooling around with the FedEx guy?
Well, like
There
you
was
said.
no FedEx.
Yeah, there was no FedEx then.
So, all right, a couple of quick ones from Gilligan. You mentioned one of them from Gilligan's Island. But here's one I didn't know. Ginger thought she was going to be the center of the show.
Right.
And when she wasn't, she had to be talked into staying. And to the time she got out, and she's still alive, by the way. I think she's the last surviving cast member.
She's over 90.
But she stayed, and it was her greatest paying gig, period.
Right. And she'll never, welcome any conversations about Gilligan's Island either.
Right.
Like, she wishes it would go away, but like you said, that was her ticket. I mean, that's what, when she got the gig, she was led to believe that it was a show about a movie star who got shipwrecked on an island with a bunch of people that she acted around.
And there was a rumor that Bob Denver didn't like Marianne. I mean, Don Wells, who I know you've met as well.
Yes.
Delightful.
Yes. I think it was more, I had heard that Tina Louise and Bob Denver didn't get along, and it was mostly because he was the star of the show and she was not.
All right. Did you know the SS Minnow was named after FCC Chairman Newton Minnow?
Newton Minnow, yep.
Yeah.
Because he was the guy who said TV was a vast wasteland, correct?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And Sherwood Schwartz said, oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, Sherwood did all right too, didn't he?
He did.
So there's a few secrets from those shows. We can do that next time we get together for this as well. Here are your remaining topics. Bad tourist attractions, baseball's all-time name team, and rescuing a douchebag.
Let's do the all-time name team. That sounds fun.
Baseball's all-time name team. And when we're recording this on April 28th, whether you're watching it or listening to it, just know that at this point, the Cubs are really surprisingly good.
They're playing well.
Is it real or is it a facade?
It's not a facade. They're playing in a division that's very winnable, and they're also beating good teams. However, there's a couple things they need to do if they want to sustain it. But right now, with what they're given, they're doing a great job, but pieces need to be added. Now,
some of these names you'll know, some you won't. After 40 years of doing morning shows, you tend to search for topics like this. And this is right up Larry's alley, your main anchor. You tell me if you know these players. These are actual players. Dick Padden.
That's got to be a guy from early 1900s, right? Before 1930?
I don't see the era, which is maddening, but in a career of ups and downs, he played for 4 different major league teams, 3 minor league teams over the course of 10 years. Finished as a .258 hitter in 874 games, so he had himself a long career.
Okay. Little DP?
Dick Padden, no relation to Ed Head.
No, I don't know that guy either.
Ed Head appeared in 118 games, had 53 starts as a pitcher with the Brooklyn Dodgers between 1940 and 1946. He went 27-23 with a 3.48 ERA in his best year. 50 decisions.
Well, that tells you that he played in another time, another era. But Ed Heads are actually the people that follow the Grateful Ed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's helpful to know. How about Shooty Babbitt?
Sounds familiar.
One of the shortest careers of players in this list, Shooty Babbitt's only season was with the Oakland A's in 1981. He appeared in 54 games, drove in 14 runs and 156 at-bats.
Okay. Utility infielder?
Might as well be. How about Rusty Kuntz?
Yes. I have heard of him. Played for the White Sox. He actually coached for the White Sox after that. He was an outfielder. Kuntz.
Yes, my mistake, and a tragic one on my part.
How about you weren't the only one.
How about Cannonball Titcomb?
No, I don't know. I don't know him.
Well, in reality, every name on the list could be considered pretty random. Cannonball Titcomb, a little more than most. He's made 63 starts during his career, including a 30-29 record with a 3.47 ERA in his best year. as a pitcher in the late 19th century.
Yeah. 30 and 29.
30 and 29. Yeah. Let's see. Pussy Thibault.
You're making
I'm not making these up. Pussy Thibault is the brother of George and Patsy Thibault. His career lasted only 2 games in July of 1895. Patsy Thibault's career is much longer, 13 seasons in Chicago, St. Louis, and Cleveland, and was eventually a player-manager. Do you think with 2 other brothers that they named him Pussy?
Yeah. Well, the other, Patsy did it to distract attention from the fact that his name was Patsy.
That's exactly right. It seems like it went in the order which was favorable to the last guy.
Yeah.
Here's a guy who I know you know, and he has an interesting tie to television, Pete LeCoq.
Yes. Pete LeCoq.
Explain who he is.
He played for the Cubs in the Kansas City Royals, is the son of Peter Marshall, who was the host of Hollywood Squares, who lived to be 100 and died just this past year.
How about that?
But, Peter Marshall's name is Pierre LeCoq. You want to hear a funny Pete LeCoq story?
Sure, of course I do.
All right, and it's clean, I promise. Bob Gibson, meanest, surliest pitcher ever.
He'd throw at his mother if he needed to.
With the Cardinal, exactly right. He said he knew his career was over when he surrendered a grand slam to Pete LeCoq, and I believe that was the last game he pitched in.
Wow.
Did not see Pete LeCoq for another probably 10 years. And in an old-timers game, as soon as he came up to bat, he threw it at his head.
I love that.
Yeah. Waited till he was 50 to
wow,
throw the chin music at Pete LeCoq.
And one more. Pickles Dillhofer.
No, not him.
Pickles Dillhofer sounds like a woman in a sitcom, right? Like an older lady?
Yes.
Pickles Dillhofer made his debut with the Cubs in 1917. Spent his final 3 seasons with the Cardinals. He was a backup catcher and hit .245.
Not bad for a backup catcher.
What if the chant was, Pickles Dillhofer? I don't know. I probably wasn't selling a lot of merch with his name on it, I'm guessing.
No.
All right, we have 2 remaining stories.
Okay.
And they are bad tourist attractions or rescuing a douchebag, and they are not related.
Let's hear rescuing a douchebag.
You may have done this on television, because this just broke today.
Okay.
Mount Fuji in Japan, a very dangerous mountain to climb. It's almost 10,000 feet above sea level. And a 27-year-old university student climbed it outside of its official climbing season and had to be rescued. Not unusual, but his mobile phone worked. And at their own risk of life, they're risking their own lives, the rescue team got up and got him. Days later, he called back. He called back because in the midst of being rescued, he left his phone on Mount Fuji. He went back to get it and had to be rescued a second time. Now, don't you leave him the second time?
Yeah.
Don't you leave him?
Yeah.
He got up there, figure out a way to get down.
Right. He got up there, the battery was still alive, and he was able to call them again.
You ever had anything like that where you've had to have the police help you and you had to have an embarrassing story? You had an embarrassing story you had to tell them?
I have not, but if I had, I wouldn't recreate it the next day.
No. And here's a bulletin. Get a new phone.
Right.
You left your phone.
Yeah, but it's got all my stuff on it. I would rather climb Mount Fuji than install all my apps again.
I wouldn't go up there if Pickles Dillhofer was waiting to meet me. And finally, bad tourist attractions. Now, when we were kids, in almost all cases, if you went on a family vacation, you got in the car.
Yeah.
And Dad drove, and in my case, smoked 4 packs of Pall Malls. Chesterfields.
My dad smoked the Pall Mall Reds.
Yeah, that was my mother. And if it was wintertime or cold weather and we cracked the window at all, he'd say, "What's the matter with you? It's cold out there. Roll the window up." So my brother and I were like smoked hams in the back seat. And there was no way to get arout it. But we would drive
to school and your clothes reek of nicotine and you're in 3rd grade.
Right. And nobody would play with you. I mean, you didn't know. I mean, nobody knew why.
Right.
But I remember on the East Coast driving past billboard after billboard for Stuckey's and Stuckey's famous peanut and pecan logs.
Yes.
And that was played off as a tourist attraction.
Right. I used to do a joke where I'd say you could break a window with one of those nut logs.
You weren't wrong.
And they were always at the exit that said, it would say gas food next exit.
Right.
Which told you about the type of food they serve.
The greatest billboard I've ever seen, by the way, and this was not a family trip, but I was driving to Atlanta in the past few years, as a matter of fact. And somewhere between Nashville and Knoxville, as you go through the Blue Ridge Mountains for a piece there, there was a billboard that the next exit is where you would stop to get fireworks, beer, guns, and ammo.
What more do we need in life?
Well, if you're planning a war, it seems like it's a one-stop shop.
Right.
All right, the reason they called it bad tourist attractions, hundreds of people have flocked to an abandoned sofa after it became the biggest tourist attraction in a small town in Scotland called Lidbrook, possibly Lydbrook. It was dumped in a waste area in the middle of a village in early April. Someone removed it, put a window dressed up behind it with curtains, and people have used it for a photo spot ever since. So if you go to Lydbrook, Scotland, it is the number one tourist attraction, a ratty-ass sofa that somebody was trying to throw away.
And it was dumped where?
Essentially a dump. And it was pulled out of the dump and placed on the side of the road. And now people have taken wedding parties, sheep, you name it. They're all taking pictures next to the nasty-ass sofa.
Did you hear the follow-up to that story, though?
What was it?
In the cushions of that couch, the guy who climbed Mount Fiji, his phone.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
He left it again?
Yeah. Yes.
Unbelievable.
But he didn't know where.
Irresponsible.
He had people calling it all over the world, and all of a sudden the people are getting their picture taken, and they're like, what is that? And then the screensaver was Mount Fuji. So that's how they knew.
How about that?
Yeah.
So, all right, Mike Toomey, you've done good work here, as always, and I look forward to those shows that you and I will be doing with Tim Benker that you had no idea about.
No.
Coming up later this summer, we'll announce those.
Tell me off the air what this is.
Yeah, I will. Oh, and by the way, Mike, I got a freebie for you, as you know, but you can get the Survive 2025 merch. And this has nothing to do with politics. This also fits the theme of the show. This is just 100% cotton therapy to get through the year. Been a tough year. Survive 2025.
And we will do that.
You can go to survive2025.us. I almost forgot my own website. We'll see you on WGN Morning News and Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. for...
That's right. 10 a.m. Saturday, and then again at 4, and then Sunday at 4:30.
For Laugh Tracks.
That's correct.
And get it on the app, which is called
WGN Plus. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to do that. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. I'll see you on TV.
You bet. See ya.
Apple Electronics is your number one destination for home with the best selection of quality Bosch appliances. Offering a full range of kitchen appliances that deliver superior precision important performance. So you can own the kitchen like a Bosch. Their dishwashers and crystal dry technology deliver the ultimate clean. And they're even going to dry plastics. You don't have to have the argument anymore. Well, you didn't dry the Tupperware. Well, you don't have to now. Sleek refrigerators with VitaFresh technology is going to keep your food fresh. It's 3 times longer compared to refrigerators that don't have the VitaFresh. Oh, and they've got these very cool ovens that have a combination air fryer. Oven and air fryer together. It's a time saver. It's a space saver. Enduring commitment, quality, and design. It's all Bosch. Makes kitchen appliances invented for life. Thoughtful design runs through every detail of every Bosch appliance. It's a kind of quality that's both lasting and clear. And remember, don't forget about that promotional code, Cochran25, where you can save $25 at Apt or at apt.com. Thank you, Ross Cochran, for putting this together. And thank you for listening and watching live from my office.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Support the show by subscribing wherever you're listening and by telling your friends about it. Follow Steve on all social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And make sure you check out this episode's show notes for relevant information discussed during the conversations. You can also email the show directly at thecochranshow@gmail.com with any questions or comments. And that's the best place to tell us about your favorite nonprofit so we can make sure we mention them on the next episode. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event. And occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.